Gentlemen, I need your full attention. What I'm about to share may surprise you, maybe even shock you. Every single day, millions of men over 60 sit down to dinner believing they are fueling their bodies with healthy vegetables. Yet behind the appearance of something wholesome, those same foods may quietly be raising blood sugar, stiffening arteries, straining the prostate, and yes, even stealing away the very vitality that makes a man feel alive. Think about it. Corn on the cob at a family barbecue, mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving, or canned peas passed down from grandmother's pantry. These aren't just foods, they are traditions. But what if I told you that some of those very traditions, carried across decades, are silently robbing men of their strength, energy, and intimacy? My name is Dr. Jonathan Prescott. I'm a urologist and men's health specialist. For over 3 decades, I've worked with men in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, helping them restore strength, protect their prostates, and revive intimacy in their lives. I've seen what truly works, and perhaps more importantly, I've seen what doesn't. Here's the plain truth: not all vegetables are created equal. Some that you've trusted all your life may actually tear down your health from the inside. Others, less glamorous, often overlooked, have the power to boost circulation, lower inflammation, and fuel the kind of masculine energy you thought was gone forever. That's why today we're diving into two simple lists: the 4 vegetables you must avoid and the 4 you should embrace. Gentlemen, these aren't complicated diets, expensive supplements, or another pill bottle on your nightstand. These are simple food swaps that you can start today, choices that may change the course of your health more than any prescription. And let me give you a promise. If you stay with me until the end, I'll reveal the single most powerful vegetable for circulation and male vitality after 60, the one I believe every man deserves to know about. But before we begin, let's build something important. This channel isn't just a lecture hall. It's a community of men who care about living with strength, dignity, and connection. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you never miss another conversation designed for you. And let me ask you for something small that makes a big difference. Tap that like button right now. When you do, I want you to know this: may every like you give be returned as renewed strength in your body. May that simple click be a reminder that you're not done yet, that better years can still lie ahead. And may pressing like today bring you just a little more energy, a little more confidence, and a little more pride tomorrow. That's my wish for every man listening, because this isn't just about food, it's about reclaiming the life you want to live. I also want to hear directly from you. Drop a comment below if you find this lesson helpful. Type 1. If you think I can improve, type 0. I read them, I respect them, and I shape these talks around what you share. No voice is too small, no question too simple or too tough. Gentlemen, we've carried traditions at our tables for generations, and some of them have served us well. But some have quietly stolen from us, leaving too many men tired, ashamed, or resigned. That ends here. Together, we'll separate the foods that sabotage from the ones that strengthen. So let's begin. The first food on our list might already be sitting in your kitchen. It's a classic American staple tied to memories of cookouts, family dinners, and holiday feasts. Yet for men over 60, it's far from a friend. In fact, it may be one of the most dangerous vegetables hiding on your plate. Let's start with corn. Let's begin with a food that almost every American man has eaten thousands of times. Corn on the cob at family barbecues, buttered corn at Thanksgiving, popcorn at the movies. It's woven into our traditions, our celebrations, and even our sense of comfort. I understand that nostalgia deeply. My own father loved his corn on the cob every summer, and back then, we all believed it was one of the healthiest choices on the plate. But as I studied men's health and watched the aging process unfold, I came to realize something startling. For men over 60, corn is not the friend we once thought it was. In fact, it's often one of the most damaging so-called vegetables hiding on your plate. Here's why. Corn is not like leafy greens or cruciferous vegetables that protect your blood vessels. Corn is loaded with starch, and once that starch hits your system, it quickly breaks down into sugar. For a younger man with faster metabolism and resilient arteries, the damage may take years to appear. But for seniors, men already dealing with slowed circulation and stiffening vessels, that sugar surge can quietly wreak havoc. Every spike in blood sugar triggers a surge of insulin, and repeated insulin spikes scar the delicate lining of the arteries. Remember this, an erection is nothing more than blood rushing into the penis. If those vessels are stiff, clogged, or damaged, the flow weakens and one day it fails altogether. That's not about willpower, that's simple physiology. But corn's trouble doesn't stop there. It sneaks into your diet in ways you may not even realize. High fructose corn syrup in your sodas, cornstarch in processed foods, cornmeal in baked goods. You may think you're avoiding sweets, but corn byproducts are quietly flooding your system with sugar day after day. And that constant attack on your circulation is one of the silent killers of male vitality. I've treated men who never smoked, rarely drank, and exercised faithfully, yet still struggled with fatigue, low testosterone, and weak erections. When we dug deeper, we found their diets were drowning in hidden corn products. And once they made the change, removing corn and its byproducts, many noticed clearer thinking, stronger energy, and firmer confidence within weeks. There's also the issue of inflammation. Much of the corn grown in America is genetically modified and heavily sprayed with pesticides. These chemicals trigger inflammation throughout the body, and for senior men already burdened by arthritis, prostate swelling, or heart disease, that extra fire only worsens the damage. I don't tell you this to scare you away from food. I tell you this because I've seen the toll it takes. Too many men sit in my office embarrassed, ashamed, or convinced that decline is inevitable. Yet in so many cases, the solution wasn't another prescription. It was simply removing corn from the diet and replacing it with foods that heal instead of harm. So while corn may hold warm memories, the truth is that for men past 60, it's a sweet trap. One that drains energy, strains the prostate, and quietly steals intimacy. And if corn is the first silent enemy, the next food we'll talk about is its dangerous partner, one that sits on almost every American dinner table and delivers a sugar spike nearly as powerful as soda. Let's talk about potatoes. Now let's turn to another staple that has sat at American tables for generations: the potato. Mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving, French fries with burgers, baked potatoes loaded with sour cream and cheese. These are comfort foods we all grew up with. I remember sitting with my parents on a Sunday evening, the smell of roasted potatoes filling the house, and everyone smiling as the bowl made its way around. Back then, nobody questioned whether potatoes were healthy. They were simply part of the meal. But here's the truth. What feels comforting on the outside can quietly damage the inside, especially for men over 60. The real problem with potatoes lies in their starch. Once that starch hits your digestive system, it turns into sugar almost immediately. If you were to test blood sugar after eating a potato, you'd see a spike nearly as high as drinking a soda. That forces your body to release a surge of insulin, and over time, those repeated spikes and crashes scar the arteries. For older men already dealing with stiffened vessels, this is dangerous ground. Erections depend entirely on smooth blood flow, and damaged arteries simply can't deliver. And consider how we usually prepare potatoes. Rarely do we eat them plain. More often, they're fried into French fries or chips soaked in oil and salted, or they're mashed with butter, cream, and even more salt. Even a baked potato, often thought of as the healthier option, ends up smothered in sour cream, bacon bits, or cheese. Suddenly, that simple starch bomb is layered with saturated fat, sodium, and cholesterol, a cardiovascular time bomb on the plate. I've had patients who proudly told me, "Doctor, I don't eat sweets." Yet when we traced their diets, potatoes were their hidden sugar source. Their waistlines, blood pressure, and sexual health all told the story. Once we cut back or eliminated them, many saw blood sugar steadier, energy rise, and intimacy return. I want to acknowledge something important. Food isn't just about nutrients. It's about tradition, memory, and comfort. Many men hesitate when I suggest limiting potatoes because it feels like giving up a piece of their past. But here's how I frame it. You don't have to give up comfort. You just have to choose comfort that heals instead of harms. And the results are powerful. I've seen men in their late 60s who, after cutting down potatoes and replacing them with healthier vegetables, reported better energy during the day and renewed confidence at night, all from adjusting a single food that had silently been working against them. So if corn was the first silent saboteur, potatoes are its close partner, sweet in memory but harmful in reality. And if you think that's surprising, wait until you hear about the next culprit. It's something many of us grew up pulling from a can, something cheap, easy, and convenient, but one that can quietly raise blood pressure and choke off circulation before you even realize it. Let's talk about canned peas. When I mention peas, most men smile and say, "Doctor, I've been eating those since I was a kid." And they're right. Peas, especially canned peas, have been a kitchen staple in America for decades. I remember visiting my grandmother's house. She always had a few cans tucked away in her pantry. Back then, canned vegetables were seen as practical, affordable, even healthy. But what we didn't know then is that canned peas are far from the fresh, nourishing food they once represented. Here's the hard truth. Canned peas are packed with sodium and preservatives. The very process that makes them shelf-stable strips away much of their natural vitamins, leaving behind something mushy, oversalted, and lacking vitality. And for men over 60, that extra sodium isn't a small detail, it's a serious threat. Sodium forces your body to hold on to water, which raises blood pressure. Over time, high blood pressure stiffens arteries, strains the heart, and chokes circulation to vital organs, including the penis. I've seen countless men who worried about low testosterone, only to discover that their biggest problem wasn't hormones at all, it was blood pressure. Erections depend on free-flowing blood, and if the vessels are squeezed shut, no pill in the world can restore that. Canned peas also symbolize something deeper. They look like the vegetable you remember, but the life has been drained out of them. Many men over 60 feel that same way, like the spark has been drained from their bodies. But unlike canned peas, men can restore vitality. With better choices, circulation improves, energy returns, and confidence comes back. I've spoken with men who grew up in tough times when canned goods meant survival. For them, opening a can of peas wasn't about taste. It was about feeding a family on a tight budget. I honor that history, but I also remind them, you've worked hard your whole life and now you deserve food that truly nourishes you. Fresh vegetables, frozen greens, or better yet, cruciferous powerhouses like broccoli or leafy greens can give back what canned peas silently take away. And the results can be dramatic. Men who swap canned vegetables for fresh often notice their blood pressure stabilize, their energy climb, and yes, their erections grow stronger again. It's proof that even small changes at the dinner table ripple out into every corner of life. So while canned peas may carry memories of simpler days, today they serve as a warning. Convenience often comes with a hidden cost. And if canned peas surprised you, wait until you hear about the next vegetable. At first glance, it looks vibrant, healthy, even exotic, but for men over 60, it can quietly stir up inflammation and put painful stress on the kidneys. Let's talk about eggplant. Eggplant often surprises people when I put it on the list of vegetables to avoid. Many men look at me and say, "Doctor, isn't eggplant part of the healthy Mediterranean diet?" And yes, at first glance it looks impressive: deep purple skin, exotic dishes like eggplant parmesan or ratatouille. I remember my first taste of grilled eggplant at a friend's summer cookout. It looked beautiful on the plate, and I thought, surely this must be healthy. But as I've learned through years of practice, appearances can be deceiving, especially for the aging male body. Here's the hidden issue: eggplant belongs to the nightshade family along with tomatoes and peppers. Nightshades contain compounds that can aggravate inflammation in sensitive individuals. And for men over 60, inflammation is already one of the fiercest battles. It shows up as stiff joints, aching muscles, swelling prostates, and clogged arteries. When foods like eggplant fuel that fire, pain worsens, recovery slows, and circulation weakens. The result: more fatigue, more discomfort, and weaker erections. There's another layer most men don't realize. Eggplant contains oxalates, natural compounds that in high amounts increase the risk of kidney stones. For younger men, this might not be a big concern. But for older men, often with reduced kidney function after decades of wear and tear, oxalates can tip the balance into danger. I've had patients in their 70s suffer through kidney stones, and let me tell you, it is one of the most brutal pains a man can endure. The sharp, stabbing agony strips away dignity and drains strength. And when your kidneys are under stress, your whole body feels it: energy drops, blood pressure climbs, and even your ability to maintain an erection is compromised. I share this not to frighten you, but to give you the truth. I've seen too many men who thought they were doing everything right by eating vegetables, only to discover that their choices were quietly feeding the very decline they feared. Eggplant is not poison, but for older men already fighting inflammation and circulation issues, it's no ally. And that's the bigger lesson here. Not every vegetable is good for every stage of life. What may be harmless, even beneficial, for a man in his 30s could be harmful for a man in his 60s or 70s, whose body demands more careful balance. Eggplant looks beautiful and feels exotic, but for aging men it can quietly stir the very problems they want to avoid. But here's the good news. For every vegetable that works against you, there is one that works for you, and that's where we turn next. Because while eggplant can fuel inflammation and stress the kidneys, the next vegetable I'll share does the opposite. It fights inflammation, protects the prostate, and even helps rebalance hormones naturally. Let's talk about broccoli. Now that we've uncovered the vegetables quietly working against you, let's shift to the foods that fight on your side. At the very top of that list sits a humble hero: broccoli. I know what you might be thinking: broccoli, the same vegetable kids push around their plates and refuse to eat. Yes, that one. But for men over 60, broccoli can be one of the most powerful allies you'll ever put on your table. I remember one patient in his late 60s who came into my office drained of energy, struggling with prostate trouble and worried about intimacy. He told me, "Doctor, I figured I'd just try something simple before giving up, so I added broccoli almost every day." Several months later, his blood work looked better, his energy was steadier, and most importantly, his confidence at home returned. Of course, broccoli wasn't the only change he made, but it was one of the most important. Here's why. Broccoli belongs to the cruciferous family alongside cauliflower, kale, and Brussels sprouts, but broccoli in particular contains a compound called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane helps your body detoxify harmful substances, lowers inflammation, and shields cells from damage. For men past 60, this matters immensely because inflammation is at the root of so many struggles: aching joints, clogged arteries, swollen prostates, and fading erections. By calming inflammation, broccoli helps your blood vessels stay flexible and your circulation stay strong. And remember, an erection is nothing more than blood-filling tissue. Without healthy, flexible vessels, that process breaks down. With broccoli on your side, you give your body a natural edge, but there's more. Broccoli also plays a surprising role in hormone balance. As men age, the testosterone tends to drop while estrogen creeps up. Broccoli contains natural compounds that help restore a healthier ratio, supporting testosterone levels that keep you sharper, more energetic, and more confident. Many men tell me that after adding broccoli regularly, they feel more alive, less sluggish, and more masculine. That's not coincidence, that's physiology responding to support. And let's not forget the prostate. Study after study has shown broccoli to be protective against prostate enlargement and even linked to a lower risk of prostate cancer. Think about that. A simple, affordable vegetable at your grocery store has the power to protect one of the most vulnerable organs for older men. The beauty of broccoli is that it's easy to prepare. Steam it lightly, roast it with olive oil, sauté it with garlic, or toss it into soups and casseroles. The secret is consistency. Eating broccoli once in a while won't transform your health, but making it a regular part of your meals absolutely can. So yes, broccoli may not look glamorous, but it's a quiet protector, a steady shield for your circulation, hormones, and prostate. And if broccoli stands guard, the next vegetable acts more like a spark plug. It fuels nitric oxide, boosts energy, and restores circulation in a way you can feel within weeks. Let's talk about spinach. If broccoli is the quiet protector of a man's health, then spinach is the energizer. Many of us remember it from childhood as a slimy pile on the plate, something you had to choke down before you could leave the table. I recall my own parents insisting I finish every bite, and like most kids, I wasn't a fan. But decades later, as a physician, I can tell you this. What we resisted in youth may be the very thing that keeps us strong in our later years. The magic of spinach lies in its natural nitrates. When you eat spinach, those nitrates convert into nitric oxide, a compound that relaxes your blood vessels and allows blood to flow freely. And what are erections if not blood-filling tissue? Without enough nitric oxide, circulation slows, arteries stiffen, and performance declines. With it, however, your body regains flexibility and vitality. I've seen this firsthand. A man in his early 70s came to me complaining of fatigue, rising blood pressure, and fading intimacy. I encouraged him to add spinach, just a few servings each week. When he returned a month later, his numbers had improved, his mood was lighter, and he confided with a grin that his wife had noticed the difference too. That's not a miracle, it's physiology responding to the right fuel. Spinach also provides magnesium, a mineral most older men are lacking without realizing it. Magnesium helps regulate blood sugar, supports muscle and nerve function, and balances hormones. Patients often describe feeling calmer, stronger, and more energetic once they start getting enough. Add in spinach's iron, folate, and antioxidants, and you have a nutrient powerhouse that refreshes your red blood cells and keeps your heart pumping steady. Think of it like this. For a man past 60, the spinach is like giving your body fresh oil and a tune-up after decades of wear. The energy feels smoother, the circulation flows freer, and the engine runs cleaner. Another advantage, spinach is flexible. You can blend it into a smoothie, toss it into a salad, sauté it with olive oil, or stir it into soups and omelets. It doesn't have to be overwhelming or boring. Prepared well, spinach can actually be delicious. And even a single serving can raise nitric oxide levels in the blood. That means small, consistent changes, rather than drastic diets, can create real impact. I often remind men who sit in my office discouraged and ready for another prescription. The path back to confidence doesn't always start with a pill. Sometimes it starts in the produce aisle. And spinach, humble as it may seem, is one of the fastest ways to improve circulation naturally. So yes, spinach may have been the villain of your childhood dinners, but today it could be the very thing that restores your strength, vitality, and presence as a man. And if spinach works behind the scenes to energize your circulation, the next vegetable is more like a purifier, flushing out excess salt, balancing pressure, and preparing your body for stronger health in ways most men completely overlook. Let's talk about asparagus. There's something almost elegant about asparagus. Those long green spears arrive in spring, often at special gatherings, carrying a sense of freshness and celebration. I recall a patient telling me how every Easter his wife roasted asparagus with olive oil and lemon. For years, he thought it was just a family tradition. Later, he realized she had been giving him one of the best gifts for his health all along. Here's why asparagus matters so much for men over 60. First, it works as a natural purifier. It acts like a gentle diuretic, helping the body flush out excess salt and water. That may sound minor, but for older men, it's a lifesaver. Excess sodium raises blood pressure, strains the heart, and stiffens arteries. And when blood pressure climbs, circulation to the penis weakens dramatically. Many men who come to me fearing low testosterone discover their real problem isn't hormones at all, it's high blood pressure. And asparagus is nature's quiet tool to bring that pressure down. Beyond that, asparagus is loaded with vitamin K, a nutrient critical for blood vessel health. It helps prevent dangerous clots, keeping blood flowing smoothly, which is absolutely essential for strong erections. Alongside vitamin K, asparagus provides folate, a B vitamin that strengthens both brain and cardiovascular health. For older men, that translates into sharper memory, steadier energy, and a healthier heart. One gentleman in his early 70s shared a story I'll never forget. Within weeks of adding asparagus to his meals, he noticed he was sleeping better, walking with more energy, and regaining confidence in the bedroom. With a smile, he admitted, "Doctor, I never thought asparagus would do that, but now my wife buys it every week." These small victories remind me that sometimes the simplest foods can have the biggest impact. And there's a symbolism here too. Asparagus spears stand tall, strong, and upright, the very way most men want to feel. While that may sound playful, it's also a reminder what you put on your plate shapes how you show up in your life. Asparagus, with its cleansing and strengthening qualities, gives your system the support it craves. The good news is asparagus is easy to prepare. Roast it, steam it, or grill it, just don't drown it in heavy sauces. Keep it simple and your body will thank you. So if spinach is the energizer that boosts nitric oxide, asparagus is the purifier that keeps blood pressure in check and vessels flexible. Both play essential roles in helping older men regain vitality. But the vegetable we'll turn to next is in a class of its own. It doesn't just support circulation, it supercharges it, flooding your body with oxygen-rich blood, fueling stamina, and restoring confidence in ways men often describe as life-changing. Let's talk about beets. If there's one vegetable I call nature's performance booster for men over 60, it's the beet. At first glance, it doesn't look like much. Just a rough, earthy root you might pass by in the grocery aisle. But beneath that humble skin lies a powerhouse that can restore circulation, boost stamina, and return confidence you thought was gone for good. I remember a man in his mid-60s who came to see me discouraged and tired. He had tried supplements and even prescriptions, but nothing seemed to last. I suggested something simple, roasted beets or even a daily glass of beet juice. 3 months later, he was a different man. His blood pressure was lower, his energy higher, and the sparkle in his eye told me more than words ever could. His private life had improved dramatically. The secret of beets lies in their natural nitrates, like spinach but in even higher amounts. Beets flood your body with nitric oxide. This relaxes and opens your blood vessels, allowing oxygen-rich blood to flow freely to your heart, brain, muscles, and yes, your penis. Erections depend entirely on healthy blood flow, and nitric oxide is the master key that unlocks it. That's why elite athletes drink beet juice before competition. It gives them stamina and endurance. For older men, the same effect translates to energy in daily life and renewed confidence at night. Beets also bring other gifts. They contain betaine and antioxidants that reduce inflammation and protect the liver. After decades of processed food, alcohol, and medications, many men's livers are overworked. A sluggish liver means slower metabolism, lower hormone balance, and constant fatigue. Beets help cleanse and strengthen this vital organ, which in turn improves energy, mood, and even sexual vitality. Another advantage is their versatility. You can roast them for a rich, sweet flavor, slice them into salads, blend them into smoothies, or drink them as juice. Even a few servings a week can make a noticeable difference. And their deep red color is not just eye-catching, it signals their potency, packed with compounds that heal from the inside out. I've seen men discover beets and feel as though they've unlocked a secret weapon. And the best part is that it isn't a drug, not a gimmick, and not expensive. It's simply a gift from nature, waiting for you to take advantage of it. So while broccoli protects, spinach energizes, and asparagus purifies, beets supercharge. They send blood rushing where it needs to go, fuel stamina, and remind every man that age does not mean decline. With the right choices, vitality can return. Now that we've covered the 4 vegetables to avoid and the 4 you should embrace, it's time for something new. I want to pause and answer real questions, comments, doubts, even criticisms from men just like you. Because knowledge isn't just about listening, it's about conversation. Let's take a moment for Q&A. Gentlemen, I promised you that this channel isn't just about me talking, it's about us having a real conversation. Every week, I read your comments and questions. Some are heartfelt, some are challenging, and a few make me smile with their sharp humor. Today, I want to take a moment to respond directly. Question 1, Doctor, are you saying I can never eat potatoes again? That feels impossible. I hear you. Potatoes are tied to family memories, holidays, and comfort. I'm not saying you must live in fear of them forever. What I am saying is that for men over 60, making them a daily staple is a hidden danger. If you enjoy a small portion occasionally and balance it with greens like spinach or broccoli, your body can handle it. But relying on potatoes every night, that's like putting sugar in your gas tank. Eventually the engine sputters. Question 2. I tried eating more broccoli, but it makes me gassy. Should I quit? Good question and a common one. Broccoli contains fiber and sulfur compounds that can cause bloating, especially if your body isn't used to them. My advice, start small. Steam it lightly rather than boiling it to mush, and pair it with ginger or garlic. Both help ease digestion. Most men find that over time their body adapts. Don't let a little gas rob you of one of the best allies for your prostate and circulation. Question 3. Aren't beets too high in sugar for diabetics? This is a sharp observation. Yes, beets contain natural sugars, but here's the difference. They come packaged with fiber, antioxidants, and nitrates that support circulation. That slows down the sugar release and makes it far less harmful than soda or processed sweets. For men with diabetes, I recommend moderate portions, about half a cup of roasted beets a few times a week. It's not the sugar in beets that's the enemy, it's the sugar in processed food that creeps in unnoticed. Question 4. My wife says spinach makes me smell funny. Should I stop eating it? This one made me chuckle. Spinach contains sulfur compounds that can, in some men, change the scent of sweat or urine slightly. But here's my counter. Would you rather smell faintly like greens or live with stiff arteries and weak energy? If your wife is teasing you, remind her that spinach is fueling your nitric oxide, keeping you energetic and present. And who knows, maybe she'll start buying it more often once she notices the difference it makes in your energy at night. Question 5, Doctor, admit it, you just hate corn because you had bad popcorn at the movies. Touche, that's the kind of humor I love seeing in the comments. But no, my warning against corn has nothing to do with a soggy box of popcorn. It comes from decades of research and seeing men whose health collapsed despite avoiding alcohol or smoking because their diets were flooded with corn and its byproducts. The science is clear. Corn spikes blood sugar, fuels inflammation, and sneaks into processed food everywhere. Popcorn at the movies, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Gentlemen, these questions remind me why I keep doing this. Because health isn't just about information, it's about dialogue, trust, and sometimes laughter. Your voices matter. Every comment you leave, whether it's a challenge, a thank you, or a joke, shapes how I share these lessons. So, if something today struck a chord, or if you disagree, type it below. This isn't a classroom. It's a brotherhood of men determined to stay strong. And with that, let's move forward. We've covered the foods to avoid and the ones to embrace, and we've answered the tough questions. Now it's time to pull everything together to see why these choices matter more than any pill or supplement ever could. Let's close with the conclusion. As we arrive at the end of this journey, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect on what we've uncovered together. We began by exposing 4 vegetables so many of us grew up trusting: corn, potatoes, canned peas, and eggplant. They weren't just food, they were part of family gatherings, holidays, and everyday meals. They carried memories of simpler times. But for men over 60, they often become silent saboteurs. Corn and potatoes flood your bloodstream with sugar, stiffening arteries and weakening circulation. Canned peas bury you under sodium that raises blood pressure and silently squeezes off vitality. Eggplant, with its nightshade compounds and oxalates, can stir up inflammation and stress the kidneys. Each of these foods in their own way drains strength, energy, and confidence. But we didn't stop there. We looked at the other side of the plate, the foods that don't rob you but give back. Broccoli, the quiet protector, guarding your prostate and balancing hormones. Spinach, the energizer, raising nitric oxide and opening blood vessels to restore flow. Asparagus, the purifier, gently lowering pressure and keeping circulation smooth. And finally, beets, the supercharger, sending oxygen-rich blood rushing through your body, fueling stamina and renewing vitality. Gentlemen, I want you to understand something crucial. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Every meal you eat is an opportunity to either build strength or chip away at it. The choices you make 3 times a day will shape not only how long you live, but how well you live. Over my 30 years in practice, the men who thrived the most were not always the wealthiest, the strongest, or even the most disciplined. They were the men who listened, who made small, consistent changes, and who refused to believe their best years were behind them. I still remember a patient in his 70s who wept when he told me that by cutting out potatoes and adding spinach and beets, he regained not just energy but dignity as a husband. That is the power of food. It doesn't just feed the body, it restores pride, intimacy, and the sense of being alive. So let me ask you plainly, what will you choose? Will you hold on to foods of the past that quietly steal from you? Or will you embrace the ones that carry you forward into a future of strength, confidence, and vitality? Gentlemen, your best years don't have to be behind you. With the right foods, the right habits, and the right mindset, you can protect your heart, your prostate, your circulation, and yes, even your erections. Age is not the end of the story. It's simply a new chapter, and you get to decide how it's written. Before we close, I want to thank you for spending this time with me. And if this conversation gave you even one useful insight, I ask you to do 3 things. Like this video, because every like tells me this message matters. And may it return to you as renewed energy tomorrow. Comment below, share your story, your struggles, or even your doubts. This community grows stronger when every voice is heard. Subscribe and share not just for yourself, but for the brother, the friend, the neighbor who may need this more than you know. May every man listening find hope, strength, and the courage to keep living fully. May the next chapter of your life be written with vitality, with confidence, and with love. And may you never forget, your body still has life left in it more than you imagine. This is Dr. Jonathan Prescott thanking you for being here, for being part of this journey, and for believing even for a moment that better days are still ahead. Stay strong, gentlemen. Stay alive in every sense of the word.